All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a journey straight into the underlying neuroscience of ADHD. We're going to totally dismantle what we think we know about focus and look at what actually happens inside an ADHD brain. We're moving way past those common stereotypes to look at the real science of dopamine, motivation, and the daily reality for millions of people.
Picture this. You sit down to answer a single, simple email. You know the exact type of task I'm talking about, right? It's routine, it's straightforward, and it should take absolutely no more than 3 minutes. You open your laptop, crack your knuckles, and get ready to just knock it out.
But instead, you check your phone. Then, you suddenly remember you completely forgot to reply to a message from a friend, which naturally reminds you to look something totally unrelated up on the internet. And bam, 20 minutes later, you are deep into a fascinating documentary about volcanoes. And that 3-minute email? Still sitting right there in your drafts, completely untouched.
Now, if this happens to you every single day, it is absolutely crucial to understand something. This isn't laziness, it isn't a lack of intelligence, and it certainly isn't because you just don't care. What it might be is ADHD, a condition that fundamentally alters how the brain manages attention, motivation, planning, and self-control. Which brings us to section 1, the attention paradox. It's time to reframe our thinking here. Because honestly, the name attention deficit is incredibly misleading.
People with ADHD don't always have a deficit of attention. Sometimes, under the right circumstances, they actually have far too much of it. It's a true paradox. Like, why can someone with ADHD focus flawlessly for 6 straight hours on a complex video game, building something, creating art, or solving a puzzle, but find 6 minutes of filling out routine tax forms almost physically impossible? Well, the answer is hyperfocus. This state totally proves that the ADHD brain doesn't actually lack attention. It simply struggles to regulate exactly where that attention is placed. So, the key takeaway? For someone with ADHD, attention is driven by interest, novelty, urgency, or reward. It is not driven by what society simply deems important. Let's move into section 2, the brain's motivation system. To truly understand this struggle to regulate focus, we need to pop the hood and look at the brain's internal reward systems. We have to stop looking at behavior and start looking at biology. And the crucial player here? Dopamine. We always hear it casually called the pleasure chemical, but scientists tell us that's not quite right. It's better understood as a chemical involved in motivation, learning, and anticipating rewards. The ADHD brain actually processes dopamine signaling differently, relying on it as the crucial signal that tells the brain, hey, this is worth paying attention to. Without that hit of dopamine, engaging with a boring task feels basically insurmountable. All right, section 3, activation versus procrastination. This brings us to why procrastination in ADHD isn't about laziness at all. It's actually a fundamental biological issue of activation. I mean, sure, everyone puts things off sometimes, but in ADHD, it's overwhelmingly different. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to start a car. You turn the key, and nothing happens. The engine works perfectly, the fuel is in the tank, but something just isn't connecting to spark the ignition. Now, imagine that same car suddenly starts perfectly, the exact second the building it's parked in catches fire. It's a crazy analogy, but it brilliantly illustrates why many people with ADHD only become highly productive when a deadline is immediate. It's not because they actually enjoy the stress of the last minute. It's because that sudden, intense urgency finally provides the exact stimulation their brain has been desperately waiting for to get the engine running. So, moving on to section 4. Time blindness and urgency. This deep reliance on sudden urgency is entirely intertwined with how the ADHD brain actually perceives the passage of time on a daily basis.
Have you ever looked at the clock completely certain only 10 minutes had passed, only to find it's been an hour? That is time blindness. The brain literally struggles to accurately sense time passing. Because of this, tomorrow feels almost as close as today. And next week, well, that feels impossibly far away. Planning ahead is incredibly difficult because that future deadline doesn't create motivation, it just doesn't feel psychologically real until it's suddenly right in your face.
And to maintain enough stimulation just to stay engaged in the present moment, the ADHD brain is constantly seeking input. This results in everyday behaviors like constantly checking phones, interrupting conversations, switching tasks, tapping feet, fidgeting, or needing to blast music while working. To an outsider, this just looks like distraction. But they're actually biological survival tools the brain uses to try and stay focused. Which brings us to section 5, stimulation and emotional regulation. because this condition goes far beyond just managing daily tasks, deadlines, and bouncing legs.
It profoundly affects a much less talked about yet equally challenging area: how a person regulates their emotions. For someone with ADHD, emotional experiences can feel so much bigger. Small frustrations feel absolutely enormous. A tiny passing criticism can linger in the mind for hours, and disappointment hits way harder than expected. But on the flip side, excitement can quickly become totally overwhelming. For many, these emotional swings are just as challenging as the attention difficulties, even if they aren't discussed nearly as often.
Let's head into Section 6, Moving Beyond a Laziness Myth. It is time to confront the most damaging misconception out there. We need to substitute years of harsh judgment with scientific empathy. Just think about this logically for a second. Why would someone repeatedly miss deadlines, forget appointments, and desperately want to do better, feeling immense shame and guilt over unfinished tasks, if they simply didn't care? People with ADHD spend years, sometimes decades, believing they're just lazy or careless. Understanding the science doesn't remove responsibility, but it absolutely replaces shame with understanding. So, with that understanding, how do we actually manage it? Well, management is highly holistic. A huge surprise for many is that stimulant medications don't usually get the patient high. They simply improve the brain's ability to regulate attention and impulses by affecting neurotransmitters like dopamine. But medication is just one piece of the puzzle. Behavioral strategies, therapy, prioritizing really good sleep, exercise, and building supportive environments, these are all incredibly meaningful ways to manage the condition.
And it is crucial we also look at the positive side here, because this different pattern of brain function, it also brings incredible strengths. We're talking about boundless creativity, deep curiosity, rapid idea generation, out-of-the-box problem solving, and that intense laser-like focus on subjects they genuinely care about. ADHD represents a different pattern of brain function, not just a laundry list of deficits.
Look, everyone loses focus sometimes, but ADHD isn't about occasionally forgetting your keys. It's about living with a brain that makes everyday tasks feel disproportionately difficult, while making other tasks impossible to stop. Telling someone with ADHD to just focus completely ignores their neurobiology. It's literally like telling someone with poor eyesight to simply see better. The problem isn't a lack of effort. It's a fundamental difference in how the brain processes motivation and reward.
As we wrap up this explainer on the remarkable complexities of the ADHD brain, I want to leave you with a quick question to ponder. Knowing now that attention in this brain is a powerful system driven by passion, urgency, and deep interest, if your brain could focus on absolutely anything for the next 6 hours, what would it choose?